morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where I have some fantastic news for Pacific Rim fans. The film opened in China and had the biggest debut ever for a Warner Brothers film, ever, over any DC movie, over any Harry Potter movie. It opened with around 9 million, really getting Hollywood re-energized about Pacific Rim and the possibility of a sequel. Now, Pacific Rim isn't out of the woods yet because it cost around $200 million to make and about, maybe they're saying another $200 million around that to advertise. So you're talking about a $400 million film, so to break even, because the studio only gets half of the box office haul at the end of the day, it would have to make around $800 million. And so far, globally, it's only made about $227 million. It hasn't even reached $100 million here in the United States. It's around at 84. So, again, not out of the woods yet, but such a strong showing in China, I think, shows that there is an audience for the movie, and at the very least should have Legendary feeling pretty good about their upcoming Godzilla film. So, and this is also just another instance of how the Chinese movie-going audience is shifting the priorities in Hollywood about who they're making a movie for. And I just find it fascinating that since the entire time the movies have been made in Hollywood, for the first time you might have a situation where they're not making movies primarily for the American audience, which I just find really interesting. But so Pacific Rim, saved by China, at least so far, and I don't know if they would make a sequel to Pacific Rim, considering how poorly it's done worldwide. But they might if they can get the cost down, and this is, as I said, certainly good news for Godzilla, which I'm actually pretty excited about after their Comic-Con experience. I think they did a good job hyping up that film. And I'm willing to always give kaiju another chance. Why not? Okay, so the second story of the day, talking about sequels, is that James Cameron and Fox have decided to not make just 2 more Avatar films. No, we're not talking a trilogy. We're talking like a quadrilogy or whatever it's called, because they've greenlit Avatar 2, 3, and 4. They're going to be shot all at the same time, and he's hired 3 screenwriters. He's not having one screenwriter write the entire run. He's having one group of screenwriters focus on each film. So for Avatar 2, he's picked Josh Friedman, who wrote War of the Worlds, but more excitingly, wrote the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the Terminator TV show, which I thought was fantastic, and a lot of fans really like it. So I think that that's an excellent choice. But my favorite choice is for Avatar 3, which is Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. And they wrote Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I think is a brilliant script. This couple also wrote The Relic way back with Tom Sizemore and I think Penelope Ann Miller. Really good screenwriting duo. I'm really impressed with their work. I think they also worked on the Jurassic Park 4 script that unfortunately isn't going ahead. But they are one of the few screenwriters in Hollywood who I think can really take science and apply it masterfully to a fictional story and make it work. Really good. I mean, I'm sure you've seen Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but if you've never seen The Relic, go back and rent it. Really good, like sciencey horror movie that takes place in a museum. Really good. I really like that film. And then the third person is the person I'm the most dubious about, and that's Shane Salerno. He's going to write Avatar 4, and that he previously wrote Armageddon, Shaft, and I wrote it down here. Oh yeah, Alien vs. Predator: Requiem. Who would hire that person to write another movie, especially something that's part of an almost $3 billion franchise? But anyway, it's taking so long for Avatar to return to the silver screen. I don't know if that's stupid or brilliant, because maybe at the time will make everyone forget how bad the movie, because a lot of people didn't like the movie. I'm one of them. Maybe we'll just have like the rosy afterglow of like, well, it was so popular. Maybe James Cameron has learned his lesson, and fixed the mistake, so maybe I should go and see it. I will see an Avatar 2. I don't know if I'm going to sign on for 3 and 4. Avatar 1 I disliked so much I actually wanted to leave in the middle of the movie, and I never leave. And the reason I didn't leave is because I was stuck too far in the middle of the row of an IMAX theater, and I knew I could never get out. But you know what? I must be in the minority, because it's the most successful movie of all time, with almost $3 billion, as I said, and it's the best-selling Blu-ray of all time, and it also was nominated for a slew of Oscars. So, if I was working at Fox, I'd greenlight it too. I don't know. I think 3 new movies is a lot, but if he's going to shoot them all at once, it'll bring the cost down. Also, he can't continue with this Pocahontas story because, maybe he can, but I think that he's going to have to go in a different direction, hopefully, and maybe something a little more sophisticated. So those are the first two stories. The third story is very interesting, and that is that Vince Gilligan, the showrunner and creator and writer on Breaking Bad, is currently a free agent because that show is ending, and so there's a big demand for him, of course, to helm another television show. And in TV, the showrunner is the most important person because you have multiple directors and writers. So a showrunner is the person who keeps continuity and is looking out for the show overall, and so that's a very important position. That's what Frank Darabont was on with The Walking Dead, and that's the position that keeps getting replaced there. And people make such a big deal about it because a showrunner is so important to a show. So, but the reason I'm bringing it up here is that Vince Gilligan is interested in making a movie. And I got to interview him at Comic-Con last year, and I asked him about, that television was considered to be so much higher quality than movies these days, at least in terms of story. And he pointed out that adult storytelling had really been relegated to television. So I thought that was a great, a brilliant statement. And it would be wonderful for a great adult storyteller like Vince Gilligan to come to movies and to re-inject that into film. The current Hollywood climate. So, I think, I've suggested Bryan Cranston for Lex Luthor. If I were Warner Brothers, I would be talking to Vince Gilligan about bringing him on maybe to a Warner Brothers project. A DC property, because I think that Christopher Nolan proved that the sweet spot for the DC universe is that, to be more serious than Marvel. Marvel is the fun, light popcorn film, and I think it's smart for DC to go in the other direction and be darker and more adult. And Vince Gilligan has proved that he is excellent at that. So I would really be talking to him about, it's a shame that they've locked in Snyder and Goyer, because who wouldn't love to see Vince Gilligan take on, a Batman-Superman team-up? I just feel he would be an excellent choice. I don't know if he has any interest in doing a comic book movie, but I don't know. I always believe that there is a paycheck big enough to persuade anyone, especially when you're talking about paychecks the size that a major motion picture studio can write. And I would be getting on the phone with Vince Gilligan's agent asking how much is it going to take. All right, so speaking of TV, the question I want to answer today, I'm sorry for the last two, I forgot to answer a question. It's just I've been sick and it's crazy coming back from Comic-Con, but when I talked about the Flash TV show, some of you had said, oh, Grace, there you go again, favoring Marvel, when you said that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was already a success. And actually, I did not say it was already a success. I talked about the fact that I think it's working so far, it's a good idea. And the reason that I got, let me explain myself. I didn't explain where that was coming from. I have my doubts about the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. show personally. I thought that, I think it has a cheap look. I think that you cannot spend enough, nobody would justifiably spend the amount of money necessary to bring a television show up to the standards of a movie. So you're going to create kind of like this cheap alternate, cheap pocket, I guess, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm never a fan of that. But what kind of changed my mind is that my parents went to Comic-Con for the first time this year. I really wanted to see what it was all about, so I invited them, and they came on the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, late Friday night. And on Sunday night, I was asking my parents, oh, did you have a great time? And it just happened to come up, my mom had seen some ads for Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I also think she'd picked up a circular, and they were talking about that, and she said, I see that Agent Coulson from the Avengers films is going to have a television show. And I said, oh yeah, he's going to have this Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she said, you know what, I think I'm going to watch that, because I really like Clark Gregg in that role. And that just blew my mind, because my mom has no interest in comics at all. She goes to see comic book movies, but she doesn't have, she's not a comic book reader, she doesn't watch any, she doesn't watch Arrow, she never watched Smallville, she had no interest in those kind of shows. And so the fact that I think my mom really has a good ear for, what the mainstream, and I think she's really smart about that kind of stuff. And so that she has an interest in watching this show really made me feel that Clark Gregg could be pulling a lot of people into it. And so that might be really smart, that to bring someone from the movies that's so popular down to a TV level. So that's my thoughts on Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll see if it's good. Because that's the next step. My mom's not going to keep watching if it's a crappy show. But I think it's fascinating. And when you really think about how Marvel has been able to bring mainstream people into the comic book market, it's a whole other video discussion, but I find it distressing that comic book companies aren't concerned that there's no crossover to reading comics. My mom still doesn't pick up a comic even though she loves the movies. So that's very interesting to me. But if they can at least bring her into a TV show, that's another step forward. So those are that's morning movie news. Those are the 3 stories. You've got Pacific Rim 2, Avatar 2, 3, and 4 with writers attached, Vince Gilligan movie, maybe DC Universe, and then my thoughts on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Will it be bringing the Marvel movie audience to ABC? So write your own thoughts down below and anything you'd like to see covered on Monday and any questions you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.